The other day I finished the Silent Hill 2 remake, and honestly, I'll be honest with you, it was just complete fucking letdown. I'll go in depth on my thoughts a bit later on, because I kind of want to talk about the original first. The original Silent Hill 2, just truly an art piece, just beautifully crafted in every way. It was really a huge step up from the first game in literally every way. Not even just the graphics and stuff, but the music and the atmosphere and the characters. But oh yeah, about the music. The soundtrack in the game is just amazing. I'll be playing the music as is in this video because obviously it's relevant, and it's for one it's relevant, and two it's just great to listen to. I'll more than likely use it in videos in the future as well for background stuff. I even just listen to it in my spare time. I'll be on the bus and I'll listen to the theme of Laura, I think it's called, because it's just really nice. It's especially that song. It's like a 2000s, very 2000s kind of vibe, which is very nice. Honestly, the problems that I have with Silent Hill 2, I could count them with a couple fingers. If I lost most of my fingers, if I only had 3 fingers left, I could count my problems with it on those fingers. So I'll talk about that a bit. The main thing that I didn't like in the game were the boss fights. They were just very they were very basic in a way. There wasn't much to them. I didn't think they were very fun. The only 2 bosses that were worth a damn were the final 2, that being the Pyramid Head and obviously the final boss. But those 2 boss fights were okay. They weren't amazing or anything, but I thought they were just fine. But the first Pyramid Head boss, not the 2 Pyramid Head one, but where it's only just one. I thought it was just you didn't really have to do much. You were first of all you were in a small room, which maybe they were going for oh, you're in a very small room with this guy and he's gonna kill you, so it's scary. But in terms of the gameplay, literally, all you had to do, you didn't even have to shoot him at all. You could shoot him, which would make the boss end faster, but you don't actually have to. All you need to do was just get in one corner, wait until he comes towards you, run around him into the other corner of the room, and just rinse and repeat it. There was absolutely nothing to it. There was the abstract daddy fight, which honestly, I think it's the worst boss in the game. They put you again in this very small room, the tiniest room ever, and you have to keep running around him and shooting him. I don't know if you can just outlive him, if you just don't shoot him. I don't know if there's a thing in place so you don't have to shoot him if you just survive long enough. I didn't try that, but it was just so awkward. You would just go from corner to corner, shoot him whenever you can, which wasn't very, very good considering the only gun that you could really use was the pistol, because the shotgun and the rifle took too long to pull out, shoot, and put away. If you tried using those, most of the time you just get grabbed, so the pistol was just the superior choice for the boss fight. There was the Eddie fight, which I don't recall lasting very long. You were just in a freezer room. I think you would hide behind the little fucking meat sacks or whatever the fuck they were, and then he would try and shoot you, and then you would just shoot him. I think I killed him fairly quickly. I don't recall the boss fight lasting very long, but that one, it was it wasn't as bad as the Abstract Daddy one, but it was still just sort of eh. And one little that's pretty much the end of criticisms for the original game. The other thing I have, it's like a nitpick. It's a small thing. I think it was an oversight, to be honest. And that is the whole the thing with the combat, because like if you damage an enemy enough, they would fall on the floor, but then you could like hit them again to make sure they don't get back up. I assumed that the way you did that was by swinging the weapon, because if you held the attack button, James would like thrust the weapon into the air and then like slam it down onto them, and that's what I thought you had to do. But if you just go up to them, and I think if you press the interact button, like X or whatever, he'll do like a little kick, and that actually kills them faster. Because if you try and do it the way I was doing it, by hitting them, you actually had to hit them like a good 5-6 times before they'd actually completely die. But if you just went up to them and kicked them, they literally don't get back up. I think this was just an oversight, as I said. It doesn't even look like the kick itself would like permanently kill them, because it's not like a really big kick. He doesn't like stomp, like crush their head or anything. It's just like a little kick, but it does permanently kill them. It does put them out of commission. But that's just a little nitpick I have. I only figured that out like towards the end of the game. But yeah, just a little nitpick. The fact that those are the only two criticisms I have just tells you like how great this game is. Like everything is just incredible. Okay, now I'm gonna start talking about the remake. I haven't really done any spoilers so far, but I am going to be talking about spoilers here, so if you haven't played the game, well, first of all, don't play the remake. Play the original if you can. If you have to go onto eBay or go into your local CEX shop for used games and stuff, just get a PS2 or whatever console it was, and just play the original one, so you will thank yourself. Okay, the remake. Honestly, I was going into this game with hope, and for the good first half of the game, I did have a lot of hope that things were going to improve, but it just didn't. The first thing I want to bring up is that Bloober Team in this game have some sort of obsession with just making areas just completely fucking dark for no reason. Like, obviously the original game had dark areas, but you could still like see the environment, you could see what was in front of you. But like there was so many hallways, just random hallways that were of no importance, that were just completely dark for no reason. It's almost as if they were just like, hey, it's a horror game, guys, that means it has to be pitch black and you can't see a damn thing. Happened so many times in the game. I would try and explore for like extra loot or looking for things, for objects like key items for puzzles, and it was just pitch black, and I was just like, oh, it was just really irritating. Like, some specific examples I could give is the walk up to the final Mary boss. In the original, you walk down a long hallway, and there was this dialogue between for Mary talking to James, and it wasn't like a bright hall or anything. It was like foggy, but you could still like see where you were going. In the remake, they just made it pitch black, and then even when you get out of that hallway and you walk up some steps towards the fight, it's pitch black. In the original, it was not like that at all. You could see where you were. I really don't know why they decided to do that at all. Even in these dark areas, the torch didn't really do anything. You'd think, oh, they'll make it really dark, but you'll have a torch and you'll be able to see the environment well with the torch. But you can't. You can only see just barely in front of you. You can't see anything like even remotely far down the hallway or whatever room you're in. And I'm going to talk a bit now about the character models in the game, because I didn't really read too much into them when I was playing. It was more after I finished the game that I started thinking about them. I had a talk with one of my siblings who were watching me play, because I was streaming these on YouTube, which I made a playlist if you want to watch those. Like, we were talking about how the models looked, and it's like they're almost like Hollywood-like. Like the original, they seemed like all the characters seemed like actual people who you could like walk down the street and you'd see someone who looked like James, for instance, or even Maria. I'll highlight Maria because she best illustrates my point. Like in the original, she was like attractive. She's meant to be like sexy type thing, but she's also got this like almost like a coldness to her. Like it's really hard to put into words, but like if you just look at her, she's cute, but she's also got like a bit of a bit of an edge to her, like a coldness type thing, which is what her character's meant to be. She's meant to be sexy, and she's also kind of threatening at times. But in the remake, they made her look too cute, I think. They completely removed the coldness from how she looked. And they changed her outfit too, which I don't know why they had to change, but whatever. It's very like 2024 cute, like how someone would, if you describe someone looking like cute in like current year, or when this game came out, it would be how Maria looks. Another model that I wasn't really a fan of was Laura's model. Like, it was so weird when I saw her, because as soon as I saw her the first time, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if I verbalized it or not in the stream, but her face, I couldn't pinpoint what it was, but her face just looked really odd to me. Later on, I've figured out a better way to word it. It's like her face is way more like adult-like, but it's a kid, so it's really like uncanny to look at almost. Honestly, that was probably the model that I had the most problems with, because it just did not look right. Like every time she was in a cutscene and the camera was on her, it just felt wrong. The other models I didn't have much of a like glaring problem with. They were sort of just kind of just meh to me. But like with James, I mean, he did have specific features in the original, like his eyebrows, for instance. But in the remake, he just sort of just looks like too normal. But for one, I do prefer the original models for all of the characters. But like, especially James, the original just looks better. Even I'll put it on screen. Even the legendary skin in Dead by Daylight for James looks better. Like, I would have preferred if they just used that model over the remake model. For the voice acting, there were some parts that like for example, in the dual Pyramid Head boss fight, when the Pyramid Heads kill Maria again, James does this scream, which it just sounded bad. I don't know how else to put it. The rest of the voice acting, it's not terrible, but just it's like everything else. The original is just way better. Like, for example, the highlight for the original voice acting was, for me, was definitely Mary/Maria's voice acting. Like, oh my god, she conveyed Maria so well. She made her sound scary at times, alluring, and that, when I finished the game, I got the in water ending on my first go. When I got that ending, and it cuts to, it's like underwater, and it's the letter appearing on the screen, and it's scrolling down, and Mary's like reading the letter out. I was just shocked. It was just incredible, especially that last line where she says, "James, you made me happy." The way she says that is just perfect in the original, but when she says it in the remake, it doesn't sound anywhere near as good. There's like no, it's hard to say it. She puts more like emphasis on it. She's like, "You made me happy," type thing. But in the remake, she doesn't do that at all. She just sort of just says it, and that's it. I'm now going to talk about for me, what I really, really, really did not like about the remake. The first thing I'll say is that there's a section in the labyrinth where I can't remember exactly where, but you go into these rooms and you try and open this door, but it like doesn't open, and then it spawns enemies in the room behind you, like that you're in. It's like it'll spawn like say 4 or 5, and it's so stupid. You have to kill them for the door to open, or you could like run around and the door open eventually. But this is just so not what Silent Hill is about. This is not the sort of thing you put in Silent Hill. If it was in like Resident Evil or something, even then that would still be weird in the older titles. But person who was watching the stream saying that's something that would be in like Dead Space. Now I haven't played Dead Space, but I can wager a guess that that's probably right. Like, and this is not just a one-time thing. It's like a sequence of things. You go through like a couple rooms, like I can't remember how many, but it must have been like 3 or 4. And you just keep going through these rooms, and you try and open the door, and then you have to kill a group of enemies. And while this was happening, I was like, what am I even playing right now? Am I playing Silent Hill, or am I playing COD Zombies or something? It's just so bizarre. Well, that doesn't even compare to the part I'm about to talk about right now, because easily the worst part of the remake for me has to be the Lakeview Hotel section. Like, Blue Team just absolutely massacred this section. They completely removed the very important enemy in that section, which was the Abstract Daddies. In the original, they weren't. I don't remember it very well, but they were there. I think there was sometimes even 2 in one hallway, but they weren't here. I was always ready for them. If you watch the stream, you could see I was always having my gun out, like aimed in, because I was like, okay, I'm going into a hallway. There might be abstract guys here, but they never ever show up. And the worst thing was, I think it was when I did a puzzle or something, and I left a room and I walked out into the hallway, and the lights on the ceiling like broke or something, and I was like, oh shit, this is where the abstract guys are gonna show up. Well, guess what? It was just the same enemies that I've seen for ages now. I think it was those enemies that crawl on the walls, the mannequins that crawl on the walls, which I don't like those enemies at all. I find them so annoying. But yeah, that was literally would have been the perfect opportunity that we created. The lights like broke out slowly. It was like one after one, and that would have been the perfect place to put the abstract daddy. But there was just nothing. It just gets worse for me, guys. Once you finish the hotel section and you go up to the 3rd floor, you go into the I think it was room 312, the one where Mary says she's waiting for you. You go into the room and you put in the tape, and obviously I'm assuming you guys know what happens there. You see, we get this revelation that James actually killed Mary, and then after that tape ends, in the original, the camera was like behind him, and there was this nice track that was playing that conveyed like wonder and like what happened. The camera goes behind him and like circles him and like pans around him, and it never shows his face, but you can tell how he's feeling. He's like slumped in the chair, he's like looking down, he's facing down, you can't see his face at all, which like conveyed how he's feeling. But then in the remake they completely ignore that. As soon as the tape ends, it's just like a zoom in on his face, and to top it off, it doesn't look like he cares. It really doesn't look like he cares at all to me. Maybe that's just on my end not understanding it, but his face, it just doesn't convey anything. I was expecting him to be like maybe a shocked expression, or maybe like he would cut to him and he was like crying his eyes out, not like audibly, but like this tears streaming down his face. But it's nothing, it's just a blank face. So, and after this you go out of the room. Now, this section in the original, my sibling who I mentioned earlier, who I've been talking with about this game a lot, this is their favourite section in the whole game, and it's easy to see why. You go out of the room, and this track that I'll be playing right now starts playing. I think it's called like Black or Blank Fairy in the OST. It starts playing, and it's just just the track itself on its own is amazing. Like it's like sadness and like hopelessness and like dread and guilt, all of these things that James would be feeling right now. You walk out of the room, it starts playing, you go down the stairs, and it plays throughout the whole of the rest of the building until you get to the basement, and the environment is all like weathered down, it's all like moldy and stuff like that. But they completely butchered this in the remake. For one thing, when I walked out of the room, it played the track was the exact same. They didn't remake it or anything, but it was so quiet, and I really don't understand. I was thinking maybe it would get louder when you go to the other floors, but it doesn't. It actually does something even worse than that. It wasn't. I don't think it was anything on my end. I tried looking in the settings. My music volume was up. My headphone audio was up. All of the rest of the music in the game was at a good audible level. I could hear it fine. But this track is just so quiet. I really hope that this is just like some sort of a glitch on my end or something, because it just completely ruins it. So you walk through the third floor, and you get this like crate thing, I don't know what it is, and you move it, and it makes a hole in the floor, so you jump down it and you go to the second floor, and then this incredible track that they made, it stops. It freaking stops. It doesn't loop like the original and play throughout the whole section. No, you are left in complete silence for the rest of the walk down. Why did they do this? Did my game glitch out or something? I really hope that's what happened, because this just absolutely ruined it. The fact that you are left in complete silence, like the music playing, that you know that you're safe. You're just meant to just walk through the hotel and just really think things through, like what James did, why he did it, that sort of thing. But the music just stops, and that creates another thing of the fact that it was completely silent made me think that, oh, it's pretty quiet, so there might be enemies around the corner. And I was walking through the rest of the hotel having my like gun ready and anticipating enemies around the corners, which the game does like to do. You got this completely ruins it. You're meant to be thinking about stuff. You're meant to be thinking about James, what he did, Mary, all of that. But you're not allowed to. You're not given the chance to think about that because you're thinking, oh, what if there's an enemy around the corner? And guess what? They do put enemies here. They don't attack you. I initially saw one on the floor and I was like, oh my god, they put enemies, and I quickly ran up to it and like hit it a bunch of times. But then my sibling who was watching, they said, hey, see if they actually attack you, see if they're actually hostile. So there was a nurse and I just walked up to it and it didn't attack me, it like fell over and stuff. I think I get what they were trying to do there, because like all of the enemies were like they're linked to Mary type thing, and now you know that Mary's dead, so the enemies kind of just don't know what to do and they just stop. But this was not the place to do it. The fact that you added enemies there made me think, oh, there's going to be enemies now. I have to think about that. And for someone who hasn't played the original, I haven't experienced the story yet, this completely ruins the experience. But well, at this point, I completely gave up on this game. Like, I was just sort of, okay, let's just finish this game off, get it over with. You go through, you fight the dual Pyramid Head boss fight, which I didn't really enjoy, but I mean, I don't know, it could have been a skill issue on my part. I actually died a couple times here. And then after that, you go through that hallway where Mary, it's that Mary speech, which one, the delivery is not as good, and two, they just made the hallway dark, as I said before, for no reason. Same with the walk up to the fight. The fight itself is pretty much the same. They did add a few different sections where the floor like breaks and you're once again in a dark black area where you can't see a damn thing. They did actually put some ammo pickups, which was nice. I don't think they were there in the original. But then after you shoot a few times on that part, then the floor breaks again and you're in like the daylight and you can see, and then you shoot a bunch again, kill her off, and then that's the end. Yep, that was the end of the game, and I was just so disappointed. Like, it was just such a letdown from the original. I mean, I do think the original was like, it's lightning in a bottle. You can't replicate that. No matter how much technology or money you have, you cannot replicate what they accomplished in that original game. But it's not all doom and gloom. I'm not going to act like this game didn't do anything even remotely good. My favourite part of the game being the boss fights, specifically like the first Pyramid Head, the Abstract Daddy fight, and the Eddie fight. The Abstract Daddy fight being my favourite, but I'll talk about the other bosses right quick. For the first Pyramid Head encounter, they actually gave him a decently sized room, and they even had a bunch of like objects around. I thought I could just loop him around the objects because he doesn't move very fast, but he actually breaks the objects that you run him around, which was actually a surprise. But they greatly improved it. One, they gave you a bunch of more room. The second thing, it actually progresses a bit. As you progress through the fight, it gets faster, and the sound design I thought was really good. Like when you're running away from him, you could like hear him get ready to swing that big sword or whatever it is that he has, and you could hear him like slam it, which I thought was really, really great design. As for the Abstract Daddy boss, this is easily the best thing about the remake. The original, the Abstract Daddy boss, was easily the worst boss fight for me. But in contrast, the remake, it's the best boss in the game. It was just so much more creative. They didn't confine you to a little room this time. They actually, I think you get, he pushes you through a wall or something, and I thought, I didn't know if you had to run away or shoot him, so I started running away and you run down these hallways. But then I figured out it's like a loop, so I was like, okay, this is an arena, I have to shoot him. So I shoot him a bit. Eventually, the freaking lights go out. And then I get really scared, so I run, and then I plant myself in a corner. And the game doesn't tell you if he's still there or not, so I actually sat there for like a good minute or so, just checking each end of the hall. Eventually I put on my girl pants, start walking around, and then you like walk through different areas. There would be these TVs that you could they made audio and you could hear it's the girl's dad, Angela, I think. I always get her name mixed up with Laura. It's her dad. You can't hear everything he says, but you could hear him speaking in like little bits, and you can see it's him talking to her, and you like break these TVs, and I think it like helps to kill him, it like damages him. And later on you go down a hallway and you see him appear, and then it was actually really scary. You like run away and you hid in this little closet where there's like a little teddy on the floor. And it's like the symbolism and stuff in this boss fight was just really well done. Yeah, easily the best boss fight in this game in my opinion. As for the Eddie fight, they didn't change much. I think they might have made the arena a bit bigger, but they did kind of screw up Eddie as a character, and the cutscenes leading up to the fight, they just weren't there. And there's even a point where James fucking punched Eddie, which I thought was weird, but funny. It shouldn't be funny. That's not a compliment, but it was funny. He just like punches him out of nowhere. But the boss fight itself, I thought it was way more interesting. It loses a bit of the atmosphere because they just make it dark again. But you can like hear him moving around, and you can hear him talking to you, but you can't see him. And he actually runs at you, which the way he runs I thought was so goofy. But he'll like run up to you and then attack you. And then later on, the meat bags or whatever they are, they start like moving around, and he starts like trying to shoot at you from a distance, and you have to like hide behind them, like kind of like you did in the original. And then you shoot him. But one thing that they, like after you kill him, one thing that they changed, they removed the dialogue for James saying like, oh, I killed a human being, like the original. I don't know why they did that. Like, I feel like that was a very important dialogue, but they just completely cut it from the game. But moving on from that, I'll talk a bit about the combat. The combat was never important in Silent Hill. Well, I've only played the first 2 games, but there was not focus in the slightest bit. It exists because it's a video game, so there has to be something. But the gameplay in the remake, I thought it was more in depth. I did enjoy the dodge mechanic. You did actually get iframes whilst dodging. So if you're in the dodging animation and an enemy swings at you and it connects with James, it won't actually do damage. But if they hit you as you're coming out of the dodge, it will connect. So if you time your dodges poorly, then you'll get hit right as the animation ends. So I thought it was engaging. It wasn't perfect. I can list many games that have better like combat, but it's definitely an improvement on the original. Quite a lot more engaging. But that's where the positives end, really. In all honesty, I wasn't even that much of a fan of the over-the-shoulder camera. I think the over-the-shoulder camera in Silent Hill 2, and even the original, were completely fine. That they made a more like cinematic type way. Like it felt like you were observing James. But with the remake, you actually like control where he looks and stuff, which makes you connect with him more. And you aren't really meant to connect with James. You're not meant to like relate to him in any way, really. I mean, the camera would glitch out sometimes in the original, but I mean, it glitched out plenty of times for me in the remake, so that doesn't really do much. And one thing that I also had a problem with is that because with the original, I played it like how I played the Resident Evil remakes, like the 2 and 3 remakes. In that, I wait until obviously I get to whatever the equivalent is of danger, where I'm like one hit away from dying, and then you would press whatever button it was, open the inventory, then heal, and then close it. I think that this was so important for the game, because it gave you a chance to breathe a bit. Like you got into a combat encounter, you took a lot of damage, you're about to die. Okay, you pause the game, you sit for a second, you recollect yourself, you heal up, and then continue. But in the remake, you know that it doesn't work like that at all. You can open up the inventory and heal that way, but by doing that, he doesn't like heal in the inventory screen. You use the healing item, and then it takes you out of the inventory, and then it does the animation, which is the same thing that happens if you just press the heal button, which was triangle for me, or if you held it, you used up a syringe. It removes an important, like, it's almost like a break, like you're giving yourself a break every time you got injured. You could say and recollect yourself, take a break a second, and then get back to it. But because that's not how it works in the remake, you don't really get any breaks, which kind of ruins the experience a bit. I've already talked a little bit about, I've mentioned the music before, but I'll go a bit more in depth now. For me, the music in this game, it's kind of mixed to negative, because there's tracks that are the exact same as they were in the original, even if they lowered the audio on them, like the freaking Black Fairy situation. There's tracks that are like remade, like remixed, like they remade the theme of Laura that plays in the credits, which it just completely kills the vibe. Like, as I said, with that song in particular, it's like a 2000s summer vibes, kind of, at least to me. But it just sounds like it just loses that essence in the remake. It just doesn't sound the same at all. And there's also another music thing that I talked about with my sibling. They have these like generic horror like stings, which it's generic, so it doesn't. Silent Hill 2 has a very specific soundtrack, and then if you just put generic horror music in there, it just doesn't add up. It doesn't line in with what the game is about at all. There was a lot of this in the Labyrinth, who just played generic horror music. Like, sometimes they would play different ones, and I would think, oh, is this Pyramid Head or something like that, but it would just be like a normal enemy. Even if it's just one enemy, it would play like really scary music, which is completely, it's just shit. But I think I've rambled long enough. That's all my thoughts on the remake. If you've never played, well, I don't know why you would have watched this far in the video if you haven't played the game yourself. But seriously, just do yourself a favor. Try and get the original game on a computer, or even just go out and buy a PlayStation 2 and just buy Silent Hill 2 for it, because the remake is absolutely not the way to play this game. They seriously need to port Silent Hill 2 and make it more accessible. Same with the other games, but especially Silent Hill 2 because of this remake, because it just doesn't even compare to the original at all. Hello guys, Editing Nancy here. I just finished editing all of the stuff together. It's been quite an experience. This is the first time I've used editing software on a computer and actually went through a decent length video and put music in, put clips in, photos. It's been quite the experience. But yeah, if you've made it this far, thank you very much for listening to me ramble. Feel free to leave feedback, because as I said, this is my first time really making a proper video like this. So if there's definitely parts where I mumble, and I'm sorry. I'm a very awkward person and I just talk awkwardly, so if I mumble the parts or even throughout the whole thing, I do apologise. But feel free to leave feedback for stuff I can do in the future, because this whole making videos thing, it can be stressful, but overall it does make me happy. I like doing this and I definitely want to do it more. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you whenever I make something else. Bye!